Good evening, Azeroth, and welcome to episode 178 of the World of Warcraft. As usual, I'm your host, the Lazy Goldmaker, and welcome back to the show. Second week in a row, I'm back for real, guys. I'm back for real, and recording live on twitch.tv/lazygoldmaker. So if you want to hang out, then I do this on Thursdays. Come see this live. If you have questions in chat, now's the time. I'll get to them at the end, but you can post them. Of course, the podcast is made available by my patrons, supporting me at patreon.com/thelazygoldmaker. If you want to join us to get access to 7 days of early access to all of the posts and the video guides I post, then join us. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? What are we going to talk about? I'm going to talk about cheating, not cheating, but almost. At least in terms of effect. A second account. I've had that for a long time. It's obviously not cheating according to the rules, but it gives me an immense advantage, and it does with everyone else that has multiple accounts. Like as most of the top gold makers have multiple accounts. And compared to the richest players in the game, I'm a casual with just 2 accounts. And the reason why I've been thinking about this lately is because I've been playing so much Wrath Classic. And having a lot of fun. But what you might or might not be aware of is the fact that the Classic auction house is incredibly slow at the moment. It's super slow. At least if you use add-ons to interface with it. And it's the old auction house, so realistically you have to use add-ons because the old auction house base UI is absolutely atrocious. And the reason why it's slow is because Blizzard has artificially throttled all the APIs that add-ons use, which is just, if you're not a tech person, API is tech speak for the hidden buttons, not actual buttons, but the things that your add-ons tell the game to do. They send commands to an API, and then the game does stuff instead of you clicking buttons. Now, why are they doing that? It's because the auction house infrastructure, like the back end of the auction house, is horrendous at scaling. The old one. Some of you will probably have played back in BFA and remember how incredibly laggy some of the servers were before they reworked the auction house. I don't know the actual details of the code, but it's literally the fact that if you get enough auctions on the auction house, the entire server is slowed down. Which is hilarious and kind of annoying. Which is obviously a huge issue, and it started taking off in the pre-patch for Wrath Classic. Glyphs were added, people were posting 500 glyphs for each glyph type. Just absolutely thousands upon thousands of new auctions on the auction house, which slowed down the entire auction house, started affecting servers. So they had to slow down all of the add-ons, or that's what they're doing. Now, what does all this have to do with having a second account? Well, it's obviously because I've been getting a lot of questions along the lines of, how do you deal with the slow auction house, Lazy? How do you deal with the fact that the auction house is so slow? And what's my answer to this? My answer to this is, I don't really notice it. And that's because I have 2 accounts. So I start a post scan on my second account, and then I tab back to my main account in front of me, and then I go kill 2 more mobs on my daily or whatever, and I turn back and it's, oh, the scan's not done yet, and then I go play some more, and then, oh yeah, the scan is now done. Then I scroll my mouse wheel to post stuff. So yeah, I don't really notice it, because usually I will just be drawn into whatever I was doing on my main account and forget the scan, and turn back whenever it's done, whether that's in 1 minute or 5 minutes anyway. So then that's what I do. Now, this ability to do this, utilizing a second account, is wildly overpowered. Well, not necessarily overpowered, but it's incredibly good. Other players, they have to waste 5-10 minutes away from their main if they want to buy and sell materials and items. And I can just do it in some chunks of 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there. And you can even take advantage of natural gameplay lulls. Okay, you found a group for your heroic. Just jump on the flight path, turn to your second monitor, buy out all of the items you need to restock blacksmithing, send them over to your blacksmith, and then go back. You can take advantage of so many gameplay lulls. You can just do a post scan, then cancel all your stuff, repost it. Of course. The benefits go beyond that even. And you don't even have to use any form of multi-boxing software, which is currently not allowed in the terms of service. But even without that, you can utilize a second account to increase your efficiency even more, particularly in early expansions, early patch cycles. What I've been doing in retail is I level 2 characters at the same time. So I have a crafter on my second account that I just set on follow. And then I'll just tab back and forth to mount up or click the follow macro that I keybound. And then I just use the Vial of the Sands mount, because then my second character can just jump on top of the same mount, which is just really easy. And then I can quest on 2 characters. Obviously, this is going to be slower than doing it on 1 character, but I'm also going to have 2 characters be done with whatever rep grind or level grind way faster than if I was doing 1 character after the other. So this meant that for instance, unlocking legendary crafting in Korthia, in Sereth Mortis, I was doing this on both my legendary crafters at the same time. So maybe my first one was like 20% slower, but my second one was just way faster. So that's just hugely efficient, and particularly early on. I actually should have done that in it's a bit less effective for leveling in what's it called, in classic, because you don't get multi-tabbing, whereas in retail right now leveling is so fast and there's barely any difference in XP between being in a group or not being in a group. So just setting myself on follow and being in a group was just incredibly efficient. It's probably time efficient in classic leveling as well, but I didn't do it there. Now, other things that meant that I had a max level crafter. I had multiple. I had a level 50 rogue that I used to craft all of my enchanted materials that you needed for legendary crafting in Shadowlands. And it's just like a second account is the strongest tool you can possibly get for gold making. Now, obviously, this is very awesome for me and anyone else taking advantage of it, but it does also create a fundamentally uneven playing field. I can spend less time than any single account player and still make the same or even more gold than they do. Like, I can spend less real time at the computer. It's also interesting that this breaks the economy a little bit in some interesting ways, because usually, like, if you wanted to craft a lot of Shadowgast ingots or enchanted callus hides, you would want to be compensated for that time, because otherwise why would you spend an hour crafting unless you actually save a lot of money doing that? Well, I can do all of that crafting on my second monitor. I can do that on my second account. I can just fill up on materials and click craft all and then go do a Mythic Plus dungeon or whatever. Something that actually requires me to focus on a specific thing for 30 hours or 30 minutes and I can't tab back and forth. I can take advantage of that. I can even go away from the computer. Well, you can do that with 1 account as well. But then I could do ingots on 1 account and enchanted Elysium bars on the other and go AFK and get a huge benefit, which means that my time, the value of my time, the opportunity cost of my time is very low. So I'm willing to craft enchanted Elysium bars for insanely low profits, potentially, or for very thin profits, and that's going to affect the value of these crafts for other players who are just having 1 account, because they can't really compete with that kind of efficiency. So how is this looking for Dragonflight then? Honestly, in my opinion, Dragonflight is looking like the most multi-account friendly expansion ever. It's insane, the potential value, in my opinion. Particularly for crafting, the more characters you can gain knowledge on, professional knowledge, the better. That's the main thing that's going to limit your ability to craft high level stuff. If you have 4 crafters split evenly on 2 accounts, you can level them up 2 at a time. You can work on renown, you can work on knowledge for recipes a lot more efficiently than someone doing that on a single account with 4 different characters. They then have to level sequentially and then do dailies and weeklies on sequentially as well. Dragonflight is also going to have intermediate materials. That's going to take a lot of time to craft. You have alloys crafted by blacksmiths. There's some other stuff. There's also intermediate materials you need for yourself. Another item that I've always saved a ton of time crafting is inks. Do that on your second account. It takes an insane amount of time. Just click mass mill. Go away. Come back when you've milled everything. Click create all on the inks. Yeah. The value of a second account in Dragonflight is looking through the roof, and Dragonflight in general is going to heavily favor having loads of crafting alts, in my opinion. That's going to be the fastest way to get multiple recipes at like a very high level. That's going to be grinding multiple characters to skill 100 and maxing out one specific recipe in terms of knowledge. I don't think that's going to be practical for too many people, but that's the advantage. Now, obviously, I don't know. I don't think Blizzard is going to do anything about this because it's a very niche thing, and there are potentially legitimate reasons to have multiple accounts. Like, you can say this is a legitimate reason, and it doesn't break the game too much because there's a limit to how much efficiency you can get out of this. But I mean, the gold making game is unfair for anyone who for any reason is not able to get a second account. If you really want to be efficient, like if you want to get to, I'm not talking about getting to gold cap. You can get to gold cap on a single account completely fine. I did that. I think I got my first gold cap in Legion on a single account, and then I bought my second account and I never turned back. But if you really, really want to get rich, then having a second account is a no-brainer and an incredibly important tool that, frankly, I think is a little bit overpowered. But hey, it exists, so I'm going to take advantage of it. And if you want to try to go for 100 million or something like that, then I'd suggest doing the same. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. So if anyone have any questions or comments, then do let me know. I do have a question from chat, not quite related to this, but we'll take a look at it. From Trondheim, hey, do you feel prepared for all the Dragonflight profession stuff? No, not yet. I'm playing too much Wrath Classic yet lately. But I've started checking out, and over the next weeks, I'll be putting out videos and checking out playing the Dragonflight beta to try to figure out optimal professions to focus on, optimal profession leveling trees, or potential optimal profession leveling in terms of what talent trees you're going to focus on. And that's what we'll be looking at over the next couple of weeks, but I'm not there yet. And I think that a lot of it is stuff that you can't really know until we actually start playing the game. It's still too early because we don't know what like the best slots are going to be or what people are actually going to prioritize spending their gold on, which is perhaps the hardest question of all to answer. It's like, yeah, they're going to buy high-end gear, but what high-end gear is the most valuable one for them? Who knows? So guys, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening or watching. You can find this on YouTube, you can find it on Spotify, you can find me on most podcast platforms or on the website at thelazygoldmaker.com. Thanks for listening. Good luck in Dragonflight. Get a second account.